to love you, to go for you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the message that you'll put in our hearts. Thank you, our pastor, who brings it to us. In Jesus' name. And all God's people said amen.
Amen.
All right, I'm teaching a new word today, and you may already know it. It's called synchronicity. You may have heard of that? Synchronicity. Honestly, I hadn't either until I started studying this. What does synchronicity mean? All right, I'm going to explain it to you. It's when a coincidence happens, and you find out later it's not just a coincidence, but it has meaning to it. There's a purpose in it, okay? Here's an example. In this picture, you see a circle, a little girl picture, a circle. Her name is Donna. And you see right behind the right shoulder of that cartoon character, this is Disney World, is a little boy in a stroller. His name is Alex, okay? Alex and his family is from Canada. Donna and her family are from Florida. This is at Disney World. They don't know each other. The families have no connection whatsoever. Except 20 years later, Alex and Donna get married. And as they're looking through pictures, family pictures, they see this. Alex says, wait a minute, that's my dad, and that's me in the stroller. So, what are the odds that just at the moment her mom snaps this picture of her daughter, that the man who would eventually become her husband 20 years later just happens to be going by in the stroller? Is that weird or what? Is that a coincidence? It's synchronicity. Meaning that it's not just coincidence, but there's a meaning to it. Carl Jung came to it. There's a meaning to it. There's a purpose in it. There's something going on here between these two people. All right, second example. All right, that little girl and little boy in the foreground, his name is Nick. Okay? The little girl circled in the background, her name is Amy. Don't know each other, families don't know each other. This is in England, they're at the beach playing. 11 years later, they get married. Looking through pictures, they say, wait a minute, that's me in your picture. Didn't have no idea who this person was. And yet here they are, connected with a random picture that was taken at a beach, and the two people that will eventually get married are both in that picture at that moment. Coincidence? Fate? Karma? What do we call it? What happens here? And you'd be surprised. Do you think that that's weird that happened? If you were an odds-making person, what are the odds of that happening? Of all the thousands, millions of people in the world, all the pictures that they have taken, that you would have two people completely unrelated in the same picture at the same time that would years later get married. What do you think the odds would be of that if you were placing odds? Astronomical, probably, right? But the thing about it is, if you do some research on this happens more frequently than you think. There are lots of examples from the internet that show how this happens. That two people, completely unrelated, together in the same picture, and come together later on. Has this happened to any of y'all? Has this ever happened to you? Nobody has any examples of this happening to you? Well, maybe you have, and you just don't know it. Look through your pictures. Right? There may be there. Have you checked to see? That you may find an example of that this has happened to your family. It's somewhere, somehow. But the idea is this. That events that seem unrelated are somehow tied together in some meaningful purpose. That there is a reason for things that happen. Now, I don't know about you, what your theology or your philosophy on life is, but mine is that I believe that there is a reason for things that happen. I believe there is a purpose in life. I believe that things aren't just coincidence or random events, but we are going in a direction. There's a purpose, there's a line, there's a reason for things happening. Anybody else think that? Okay, if you do, if you don't, that's okay. You know, some people think that life is just random. Things just happen because they happen, and there's no purpose and meaning to them. You know, I don't think that way. I think there is a purpose and meaning to things that happen. You know, that's what makes life interesting and exciting is, you know, where am I going? Where's it taking me? What's going to happen? Well, today we're going to look at some events that seem completely unrelated and how they all tie together for a purpose. We are going to begin in John's Gospel, the Gospel of John, chapter 11. Now, there are 4 Gospels. Name them with me. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. They're called Gospels. Gospel means good news because all 4 of those tell about Jesus. All right, a little sideline. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the Synoptic Gospels, meaning that they're the same. John is completely different. John's Gospel is different than all the others. And so he has stories in his Gospel that the others don't have. And so what's unique about John's Gospel is this. John was called the disciple that what? Jesus loved. John and Jesus had a close connection. They were friends. They were so close, you remember from last week, that when Jesus was hanging on the cross, that he said something to John. What did he say to him? That's exactly right. Is that Jesus gave John responsibility for his mother. So you know they had to be close for him to do that. For him to place responsibility of his mother into John's hands. So you know they're close. You know they love each other, close relationship. And so what's interesting about John's Gospel is this. In John's Gospel there are 21 chapters. Okay? 21 chapters. Out of those 21 chapters, 10 and a half chapters deal with the last weeks of Jesus' ministry going to the cross. Okay, now, and so, Jesus' ministry lasted about 3.5 years. And so John spends half his time talking about those 3.5 years and half his time talking about the few weeks before the crucifixion resurrection. So, to John then, which events are crucial? Which events are most important? You tell me. What's that? Exactly, because he spends most of his time talking about that. And so that's what we're going to look at John. All right, we're going to begin with chapter 11. And we're not going to, some of these events we're going to refer to, I'm not going to read them because they're familiar to you. As we get closer, then we'll read some scripture. We'll begin with John 11th chapter. John 11 is a story about Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And in the story, Lazarus, Mary and Martha are good friends. They know each other well. Mary and Martha send word to Jesus that Lazarus, your friend, is sick. Jesus, instead of rushing to his friend's side, the Bible says he stays where he is 4 days. All right? And then he finally gets there to where Lazarus lives, used to live, because when he gets there, guess what's happened? Lazarus is dead. Been dead. Dead and stinky. That's what the Bible says. Martha says he stinks. He smells. The body's already starting to decompose. Jesus gets there. Lazarus is dead. Mary and Martha are mad. They're angry. In fact, when Jesus gets there, they don't come and say, "Oh, Jesus, we're glad you're here. Thanks for coming." They say, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." If you had been here, my brother would not have died. Verse 21, chapter 11. If you had been here, my brother would not have died. What is she saying? What's she saying? Read it. Because, I've learned in dealing with my wife that sometimes they don't say what they mean. You have to kind of read between the lines. Okay? What's she saying to Jesus?
I'm mad at you, you messed up.
Right. It's your fault. It's your fault. Right? Isn't that what she's saying? If you'd been here. if you had done what I'd asked you to, if you had come when I called you, if you had shown up, my brother would not have died. It's your fault, Jesus. Jesus purposely waited and didn't come, allowing Lazarus to die. You did it, my brother would not have died. Then Jesus gives that great statement, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Whoever lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? Okay? To Mary and Martha, what's the problem? The problem is death. Death has taken their brother away from them. Disease, whatever he had, an accident, we don't know, he's sick, for whatever reason, death has taken their brother away from him, and that's the problem. Okay? Hang that on the shelf, and we'll come back to it. As you know the story, Jesus goes to the tomb. Roll the stone away. They said, we can't. He smells. Jesus says, roll it away. And Jesus says, Lazarus, come forth. Several years ago, Carmen, who was a contemporary Christian singer, maybe you've never heard of Carmen, had a great song about Lazarus come forth. And in this song, he paints a picture that Lazarus has died, and he's standing there with all the other great saints that have gone before. There's Moses, there's Abraham, there's Jacob, there's Isaac. And they're all talking together, and they're giving witness to how they know Christ, and how they know Jesus, and how they know God. And Lazarus, being the new man on the block, says forward and says, I know Jesus the way that none of you ever known him. I saw him when he fed the 5,000. I saw him when he healed the sick. I saw him when he was walking on the water. I can almost hear him call my name. Wait a minute. I think I did hear him call my name. Jesus, Lazarus, Jesus, Lazarus, Lazarus, come forth. And so here's a man that had been dead for 4 days. His body already starting to decay. He's already starting to smell. The bacteria is already working. And at that moment, a miracle happens. A heart that had not beaten in 4 days starts to beat. Blood vessels that had started to decay all of a sudden reconstitute. Blood that had already dried up becomes liquid and flows again. I'd love to have an EKG put on his brain and a brainwave that is straight. All of a sudden, beep, 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 it starts again. There's brainwaves, there's activity, there's life. A dead man walks out. Wow. Isn't that exciting? A dead man walks out of that tomb alive. Wow. Great miracle, isn't it? Here's a man that's been dead for days, and he walks out of the tomb alive. I wonder if he remembered anything that happened to him in those days. I wonder if he had any recollection of what heaven was like in eternity. I don't know. The Bible doesn't record that. But we do know that Jesus walked out of the tomb alive. Now, obviously, this makes an impression on people. Okay? Look at what it says. Verse 45 of chapter 11. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary had seen what Jesus did, believing him. They were all there for the funeral. Rather than a funeral, there was a resurrection. Some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin are all the leaders of the Jewish faith. These are the Sadducees, the Pharisees. All those people who really didn't like each other, didn't get along, but there's a common enemy now. That's Jesus. What are we accomplishing, they ask. Here this man is performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. Now, here's the problem. What's just happened? A man's been resurrected. A man is alive. And are they concerned about that? Is that what they're thinking about? Wow, this is a great miracle. No. What are they concerned about? that people may start actually believing in Jesus. That's what they're thinking about. Not this great miracle that's happened, but that people may actually start believing in Jesus. So to the Sanhedrin, to the religious leaders, what's the problem? What's the problem? Jesus is the problem. Jesus is the problem. I just find that so interesting that he raises a man from the dead and he becomes a problem. He's a problem. We can't let this go on because people start to believe in him. We can't have that. And then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. Okay, so what's the other problem? Jesus is a problem. What's the other problem? The Romans are a problem because they control power. They control Jerusalem. They control Palestine. They're in control. And so, to them, Jesus and the Romans are a problem. Now, what did we say that Mary and Martha thought was a problem? Remember I told you hang it on the shelf? Okay, look at it. What is it? Death is a problem. So now we got three problems. We got death, we got Jesus, we got Romans. We got three problems that people are dealing with. All right? So let's see what happens. Let's follow this story. Then one of them named Caiaphas. Caiaphas was the high priest. He was high priest that year. I just said that. He spoke up. He said, you know nothing at all. You do not realize that it's better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish. Did not say this on his own. As high priest, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. All right? And so there's a problem. Let's go to chapter 12. 6 days later, before Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived. Here Jesus was raised, whom Jesus raised from the dead. A dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Mary served. Lazarus was among those reclining at the table. Mary took a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. An act of kindness and devotion, an act of pure worship. One of the disciples, Judas, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It's worth a year's wages. So what's the problem here? We're wasting finances. We're wasting resources. Things are being wasted. We need to tighten everything up. We could have sold this and fed poor people with it. We're wasting stuff, Judas said. That's a problem. We need to quit wasting stuff. We could sell this and feed a lot of people. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. It's keeping the money he used to help himself to what was in it. So what's the real problem is Judas was greedy and a thief. That's the real problem. See, and so what I'm pointing out to you is this. There's the real problem, but before there's the real problem, there's the seemingly obvious problem. That's not the real problem. That seems to be the problem. Have you ever found that true? That you're dealing with some kind of problem. It can be anything. But you're not dealing with the real problem, you're just dealing with the symptoms of the problem. And before you can solve the actual problem, what do you have to do? Diagnose it correctly, right? Because if you're not dealing with the actual problem, then you're not going to solve it. You know, those of you mechanics know that. You know, my car's making this noise. Well, let me fix it. I'll fix this. Well, it's still making the noise. Well, let me do this. Well, it's still doing it. You know, find the problem. I can't find the problem. Because everything you're doing, nothing is fixing it. If it's not fixing it, then guess what? You haven't found the problem yet. All right, you go to the doctor. You have an ache in your side, ache in your head. Something's problem. Something's wrong. You have symptoms. The doctor says, take this medicine. I took this medicine. Didn't help. Well, it must be something else then. Let's try something else. Do this. I do this. Didn't help. Right? He's not diagnosed a problem. He's not found a problem. Because as long as the symptoms exist, guess what? There's still a problem, right? As long as the symptoms are still a problem, you haven't dealt with it. And so here's a problem. How are we going to deal with it? Jesus said, leave her alone. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. And I could chase that rabbit, but I'm not going to. That's a great sermon in and of itself. Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came. Not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he raised from the dead. So Lazarus has become a celebrity. People want to see it. Did you hear what Jesus did? He raised Lazarus from the dead. Well, let's go see it. Yeah, there he is. I mean, it actually happened. They wanted to see it with their own eyes. And so there was a large group of people that gathered around just to see Lazarus. Why? Because Lazarus was evidence of Jesus' power to raise the dead. That there's something special about Jesus. Now, he's done a lot of miracles. You know, he's healed people and he's fed thousands of people. He's done a lot of miracles. But here is a miracle that cannot be denied or explained away. Here is real evidence of the power of God, of Jesus' power. Lazarus is living proof. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well. Verse 11, for on account of him, many Jews were going over to Jesus and believing in him. Okay? So now we have another problem. What's the other problem? Lazarus. Why is Lazarus a problem? Because he's evidence that Jesus is the Messiah. He's evidence that Jesus is something special. And so Lazarus is evidence, and so a lot of people are going over to Jesus, believing in him, and that's a problem. You know, we're in a political season, right? Everywhere you look, there's politics going on. And this politician is having big crowds come to him. And so they say, this is a problem. This guy's got big crowds. We've got to get big crowds coming to us. So how can we get big crowds coming to us? I don't know, so let's do this. Let's not literally, but let's destroy this guy. Maybe let's destroy his reputation. Let's cut him down. Let's criticize him so that big crowds will go to him and they will come to us. He's the problem. And so, is he the problem? No, he's not the problem. Is Lazarus the problem? No, Lazarus is not the problem. Is he? But to the Jews, they think, if we can just kill Lazarus, if we can just kill Jesus, guess what? Problem solved. Right? Problem solved. We keep our place, we keep our position, we keep our power. Because one of the main motivations was this. Caiaphas was the high priest. Every Jewish male was required to pay a certain amount of temple tax. We called it the temple tax every year. It amounted to an astronomical amount of money that the temple brought in. We'll get into that in just a little while. And guess who was in charge of all that money that came in? Guess who? Caiaphas, the high priest. So do you see maybe there is a reason why he's upset with Jesus? Do you understand now why he is concerned about so many people believing in Jesus? Because what is being threatened is his position and his money and his income and his power. That's what's being threatened. And so he is not excited about Jesus the Messiah. He's not excited about Lazarus raising from the dead. He doesn't see that. What he sees is Jesus is a threat. Because I'm getting all this money, I'm getting all this stuff from being the high priest, and Jesus is threatening it. So that's his motivation. All right, let's go on. Follow me on this one. And so here we have Jesus being raised, Lazarus being raised from the dead. We have Lazarus attracting attention. Now let's put it all together. Verse 12 of chapter 12. The next day, the great crowd that had come for the festival heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. And they took palm branches, went out to meet him. Hosanna! This is Palm Sunday. This is the day we're celebrating. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel. Jesus found a young donkey, sat on it as it is written, Do not be afraid, daughter Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt. All right. Palm Sunday, Jesus coming into Jerusalem, seated on a donkey. What is significant about that? One, it was prophesied that way. Second is this. Just like today, what you ride says a lot about you. For instance, here's some vehicles that you may see out and about. A Volkswagen van. Okay, who would have that kind of vehicle? What kind of person? All right, did you have one like that? You would like one like that? All right, what does that tell you about Philip if he wants a vehicle like that? Go back there to that. What does that tell you about Philip? Huh? Oh, okay. He's old. All right. All right. Who would have a truck like that? And the guy, there's some. Alan, would you have a truck like that? Huh? Chance. All right. No? That's not your truck? There. Have a truck like that. All right. But who would have a car like that? All right. There's a couple of hands go up. Who would have a car like that? All right. Who'd have a car like that? Nobody wants that car? Oh, there's mine right there. That's my Mustang. All right. Your vehicle tells a lot about you, doesn't it? What car you, maybe not the car you drive, because a lot of times finances and other factors determine the kind of car you have. But if you could have any car you wanted, the kind of car you want tells something about who you are. Your ride reveals your personality, who you are. Okay? Jesus riding in on the donkey tells us a lot about him. Because who rides a donkey? Who rides a donkey? Who do you think? Who? Poor people. Poor people ride donkeys. Because if I can afford it, what am I going to ride? I'm going to ride a horse. Why? Have you ever tried to ride a donkey? Well, guess what? I have. And they are not comfortable at all. They've got a little bony backbone that runs the length of their body, and when you sit on that little bony backbone, it gets into my bony backbone. And those bony backbones don't match together. If I can afford it, I'm going to ride a horse, because a horse has more status. A horse represents authority and power and wealth. When the Roman generals would ride into Rome after conquering some foreign nation, there was a particular type of horse they would ride. What horse would they ride? A white horse. Because a white horse signifies a conqueror, a winner. When we get over to Revelation, after the death and resurrection of Christ, and Christ is depicted in Revelation, is he riding a donkey in Revelation? No, he's not riding a donkey in Revelation. Why? Because he has been crucified, he's resurrected, now he's King of Kings and Lord of Lords. It's a completely different status. What does he ride in Revelation? A white horse. The conqueror, the king, the general. It's different in Revelation. Because it's after the death and resurrection of Christ. It's a whole different scene. But before that, now, he's on a donkey, representing not only the fulfillment of prophecy, but his meekness, his humbleness, his poverty. That he's a poor, meek person riding into Jerusalem. Tells a lot about it, okay? Let's go on. Verse 17. Now when the crowd that was with him, when he called Lazarus from the tomb and raised him from the dead, continued to spread the word, many people, because they heard that he had performed this sign, went out to meet him. And so the Pharisees said to one another, see, this is getting us nowhere. Look, the whole world is going after him. Now it's coming together. Let's throw one more story into it before we start talking. Back to Luke, the 19th chapter. We'll put one more event into it. Now, in Luke, after Jesus comes into Jerusalem, he goes to the temple. When Jesus entered the temple courts, he began to drive out those who were selling. Because it is written, my house will be a house of prayer, but you've made it a den of robbers. That famous scene where Jesus drives out the people at temple courts. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? See, all this used to take place outside the temple. But when Caiaphas became high priest, he allowed it because like I told you, every male Jewish person had to pay the temple tax during the Passover once a year. And they would not accept Roman coins because they had an image of a Roman on it, a false image, and they would not accept it. So it had to be a certain type of coinage, a certain type of money to be accepted. Well, people don't have that. So they'd have to exchange their money for an acceptable type of money to pay their tax. You don't have any, I'll set up shop, I will trade you money, and of course I get a little profit from it. All the Jews coming to Jerusalem had to offer a sacrifice. You know, you're coming from 200 miles away, you don't want to bring a sheep or a lamb or a dove, carry it the whole way. I'll sell you a sheep or lamb, I'll sell you some for your sacrifice. Of course, I'll charge you a little extra, I'll get a cut on it. Caiaphas allowed them to start selling in the temple courts. And guess what he got out of that? He got a little cut out of it. So you see that Caiaphas is benefiting, the high priests are benefiting from all these things that are happening, that they're greed and they're power hungry, and they have the whole Jewish people in their grip, and that's why they are afraid of Jesus. And so Jesus goes in and says, this is wrong. He may seem meek and mild, but he's a warrior. I tell you, he is. And he drives them out. Okay, now let's go back and see what we've covered so far. We've identified some problems. What's one problem that we identified? Death. All right, what's another problem that we identified? Jesus is a problem. The people going after him is a problem. Jesus comes into the temple courts and there are people buying and selling. That's a problem. So he drives them out. Now, let me ask you a question. Are these things really the problem? Are they just symptoms of a problem? Now think about it. Are these things that we've mentioned, these stories, these apparently unrelated incidents, but you can see how they all tie together, right? Lazarus dying gave Jesus the opportunity to perform a great miracle, which attracted the attention of a lot of people, including the Pharisees. And because of the attention that he was getting, they decide something has to be done about this. So that's when they make the decision to have him arrested and crucified because something has to be done. And so the raising of Lazarus from the dead is the fuse that is lit, that explodes in the crucifixion. You see it? That explodes in the crucifixion. That because, what is going to give the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the Caiaphas, the high priest, all of them, what is going to give them the motivation to finally arrest Jesus and have him killed? What's going to give them that motivation to take that next step? Raising Lazarus from the dead, seeing all these people come to him, and now here's the problem. We're going to fix it. We're going to kill Jesus, and that's going to fix the problem. We're going to kill Jesus, we're going to have him crucified, then our problem is over, it's gone, we don't have to worry about Jesus anymore. But is that really the problem? Is that really the problem? Let me ask you something. Have you got problems? Do you have any problems? You get some problems in? 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Anybody else got any problems in here? You got problems?
Who doesn't?
Huh?
Who doesn't?
Sure, who doesn't have problems? Do you think you know what the source of those problems are? Do you think you know the origin of those problems? You think if I could just get rid of that person, then my problems would be over. They're my problem. If they would just shut up for a minute and listen, that would fix my problem. If they would just go away, that would fix my problem. If I just had a little more money, I could fix our problems. If I just had a little more money, boy, I could pay off my bills. I wouldn't have any problems. Life would be a breeze. If I just had a different job, if I could just find me a job that paid more, I could fix my problems. Everything would be fine. Okay? And so we have these problems, right? And in our minds, we have a solution. If we can just get rid of this one thing that's causing this problem, then life would be so much better. But what I found out, and maybe you've discovered, is this. When you fix that problem and you get what you want, guess what?
Another problem for me.
There you go. It's happened to you too.
Every day.
You fix this problem and what happens? 3 more jump up. And now I've got more problems. And I try to fix those problems. And then this problem jumps up. And so no matter what I do, I cannot fix all my problems. I can't get them all. I can't, it's like, what's that whack-a-mole game? You remember that whack-a-mole game? At the fairs, this thing would pop up and you'd hit it, then this would pop up and you'd hit it, then 3 more would pop up and you try to hit them all whack-a-mole. Sometimes I feel like life is whack-a-mole. I knock down 2 or 3 problems and 4 more jump up. And if I can just find the solution to all my problems, wouldn't that be wonderful? If you could find a solution that would fix a majority of your problems, would that be good? Would that be good? That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? Well, what if I told you that I have a solution to most of your problems? Do you want to hear it? Sent in 1995 with a self-addressed stamped envelope plus $5 shipping and handling. And I'll send you a DVD on how you can fix your problem. All right, let's sing the last song going. Now, here's the problem, folks. Seriously, here's our problem. And where I get it is this. If God says, here's the problem, then I have to kind of give credence to what God says. Don't you? If God says this is the problem, I have to kind of pay attention to that and say, God, you may be right. Because here's what this is all about. God says the problem is your sin. That's what God says. Because his solution is Christ dying on the cross for what? For what? You tell me. For the forgiveness of your sins. Now, logically, let's think through this logically. Okay? I try to be a logical person. Would God spend, would it at the cost of his only son, for him to come into this earth, to go through the pain and suffering and agony, to be crucified, to fix a problem? If that's not the problem, would God do that? I don't think so. So God says, folks, your problem is your sin. Everything else is a symptom of that. Your addictions, your relationship problems, all your other problems, there's a core symptom, and that is sin. That is that we want to do what we want to do it when we want to do it. And God, you go your way and I'm going to go my way, and I'm going to live life like I want to. And God says, that's a problem. And I'm going to fix it. I'm going to send my son to die for your sins so that you can be forgiven, so that you no longer have to live under the domination of sin anymore. You're forgiven. Your sins are gone, and not only are they gone, but they are taken care of for the rest of your life, that Christ has died so that you can be forgiven. And God says that fixes your problem. Now, will that fix all of your problems? No. But that fixes most of your problems that are serious. Guess what? That fixes what? Death, doesn't it? That fixes death. That's what Jesus was telling Mary and Martha. When she said, if you'd been here, my brother-in-law died, do something about it. Jesus says, I've done something about it. I'm the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said, I'm doing something about it. That's why I'm here. I'm fixing this problem. This is part of what I'm doing to fix this problem. I'm going to die. I'm going to be resurrected so that death is defeated, so you can be resurrected, and death no longer has power over you anymore. That fixes the problem. I think, my opinion, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. But I think that, let me give a percentage. 99% of our relationship problems can be fixed through the cross and the resurrection of Christ. Meaning that most of our relationship problems are because I am selfish and I want my way. And I'm going to have my way. And if you don't agree with me, then we've got a problem. And if you cross me, that's it. It's over. And Jesus says no. Jesus exemplified what the cross means. Those soldiers that were crucifying him, that were torturing him, that had whipped him and hung him on the cross. Wasn't a problem for Jesus. He said, Father, forgive them. They don't really understand what they're doing. Wasn't a problem for Jesus. He forgave them. The thief hanging on the cross, no hope of anything. He is a thief. He is being crucified. The next few hours he would die and go into eternity, not knowing what would happen to him, believing he's going to hell because he is a thief, because he hasn't kept the law, because he's broken the law, because he's lived a lawless life for his whole life. He is a problem. He's getting ready to die, and there's no hope for him. And he turns to Jesus and he says, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And what does Jesus say to him? This day, you will be with me in paradise. Problem solved, right? Problem solved. He has eternity. He's with Christ in eternity. Why? Because he went through Christ. Christ solved his problem. Now the other thief on the other side cursed Jesus, turned away from him. He still has a problem. He still has a problem because he died without Christ. But the other thief, problem solved. Christ solved his problem. So the point is this. You've got a problem? The origin, the core of most of our problems begins with sin. Disobedience to God. Me wanting my way above everything else. When I come to Christ, he forgives my sin. And he gives me the opportunity. Paul says, I no longer live, but I've been crucified with Christ. I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. That I get to live as Christ lived. Christ lives in me, so I can live as he did. I can forgive. I can be gracious. I can be kind. I can be giving. It's not automatic. It's not instant. I still deal with it. I deal with my self-centeredness every day. I have to crucify myself every day. Some self-centeredness part of me pops up and I think, okay, chop its head off, kill it. The other part, kill it. I have to keep crucifying myself all over again because I'm my own problem. But Christ gives me the ability to solve that problem, to quench that problem. He gives us a solution to our problems, and that is Him. It's not fixed automatically, but it's a start, it's a road, it's a path that we walk. fixes the problem. And it begins with Christ. See what I'm saying? Every solution, the solution to every problem begins with Christ. You believe that? The solution to every problem we have begins with Christ. So let's do this. Whatever problem you have, whatever it is, let's take it to Christ first and see what he says about it. Do I need to forgive somebody? Do I need to let something go? Do I need to crucify something in my life that keeps hanging on? Do I need forgiveness for some sin, something I've done that I keep holding? Do I need forgiveness? What do I need? I bet you that Christ has a solution for that problem, whatever it is. Whatever it is. Because that's what he came, is to solve our problem, and that is sin. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be what? Saved. Might be saved. Might be saved. Be the solution. Let's pray. Father, thank you that you have given us a solution to our problem. It doesn't start with us. It doesn't start with that next person beside us. It doesn't start with what somebody else is going to do or not do. It starts with Christ in us. That's the solution, whatever it is. Maybe an addiction, maybe a relation problem. It might be greed. It could be 1,000 different things. But it begins with us. And the solution begins with you. And God, help us today to realize that, God, you're the solution to our problem. You will fix it. And just bring it to you. Say, God, here it is. I don't know what to do with it anymore. I can't do it. I can't handle it. It's beyond me. It's stronger than I am. God, here it is. Lay it down at the cross. I lay it down at the cross because you laid your life down at the cross. And in doing that, you took care of my sin. You took care of my problem. You took care of death. You were resurrected. Thank you for what you have done. This morning as we sing this last song together, if you've got a problem, our altar's open. Just come and leave it here. Or just there at your seat. You can just leave it there. Bring it to God. You've tried to solve it. You can't. You've tried to do it yourself and you can't. It keeps coming back. Bring it to him and give it to him and see what he can do about it. See if he can solve it. Because that's what he came. To give us peace, wholeness, and a new life. Let's stand and sing this last song.